with me about how you're looking at it, because I feel like people need a framework for how to look at things mentally. And I think that's probably the best thing we can share with all the people that are becoming part of our community is
Sure.
how to think about this, how to try to, um, this isn't about, this has nothing to do with techniques here. We're not debating silver diamide fluoride.
Right.
That is the least of everybody's worries. It's crisis management.
It's crisis management. I agree. Well, being inundated with all of this new information and having to deal with the stress of potentially losing the team, furloughing or terminating their employment, and having to learn new language from an accounting standpoint and from a legal standpoint, I felt like that we were all thrust from our comfortable, happy jobs that we were experts in into a new arena of being completely unprepared with the language and the situations and scenarios that we were finding ourselves being put into. So the analogy of feeling like a first year law student that was in class for 2 weeks and then getting handed the final exam was kind of how I felt through the whole process. But for me, having all of this information coming in at one time very quickly, I had to realize there's got to be categories I put this into to start to figure out a game plan and a strategy. And for us, the strategic game plan was 4 categories. The first one, how to manage your team. The second one being how to manage the financial loan situation. The third's going to be the patient management, the rescheduling and managing the schedule once we get back. And then the fourth piece is the personal financial piece to all of this. So once I had 4 clear-cut categories to start putting questions and topics into, that gave me a little bit more peace of mind.
Bobby, I'm curious, you're connected with a lot of pediatric dentists. What are you generally hearing from your friends and your circles? And,
everybody is different in terms of what they had saved and what they had put away for an emergency situation. So people who had not or weren't there yet because they're so new into their career or just kind of lived payroll to payroll, they had a different conversation. They were having different conversations than the people who were prepared, who had emergency lines of credit in place. But overall, I think it was the same feeling that we shared of just, is this really happening? Like, we went from a well-oiled machine to the faucet being completely turned off. And I don't know when I'm going to see my team again. And so nobody could ever have predicted that we were going to be in this situation. So the general consensus is shock and awe at first. And I think we're all just kind of coming around and waking up to what it is that's happening. And we've just been in fix-it mode and crisis mode for almost 2 weeks, that we're just now kind of catching our breath. I feel like my head has just barely been above water through this process.
Are there any?
How about you? What have you heard?
It's funny. I'm being the only pediatric dentist in this area. I'm kind of isolated on that front. I think texting with you and some podcasts that I've been recording in my downtime has gotten me in touch. But I think in terms of the peers who I'm in touch with, you're going to have the pulse on it more than I am. I was watching IPEDO, but I had to shut IPEDO off because it just was.
It was too much.
It was
so much information.
Oh my God.
And a lot of misinformation too, that gets people really stirred up. And that was something I had to very quickly identify and be aware of, that I have to limit how much information comes in each day, because it was overwhelming.
Especially emotionally charged information, because not only is
absolutely
is it just information, there's an incomprehensible amount of emotion tied to that.
I would love to know the hours we all logged in webinars and talking to each other, being on the phone with our accountants and our attorneys and our HR advisors, because the frustrating part was that first week, the week of the 17th, and then the following week, the 24th, things change so quickly information-wise that we all, because of the nature of who we are, we're fix-it people. We're instant gratification. How can I fix the problem driven people. So we were scrambling to figure out what our game plan was going to be. And then all of a sudden, all of the information changed that came from the top, and all of our game plans weren't appropriate at that point anymore. So that was the frustrating part, was the hurry up and wait, or the hurry up, get a plan, and then it all changes on you. So that was frustrating.
Yeah, I don't know how you can even put this into words. Like, I mean, you said it at the beginning, right? I think we're all still somewhat in a state of shock. Like, is this
Yeah.
really happening?
Right.
And in that single question is, how are we going to, how is it that we got here? Because we're all problem solvers, right?
That's right.
So the diagnostic mind is still going on, saying, how did we get here? How are we going to deal with it? How are we going to reconcile it? And then how are we going to make sure this never happens again? You
Can we
know,
really do that? We
you
could be
know,
better prepared.
we can be better
And I think
prepared,
that's
but
what people.
I think I'm really anxious and curious to see what kind of post-mortem is done on this whole experience,
Oh yeah.
right? Because
Is this
I
going to be
don't.
a Lifetime movie? I want to see the docu-series that comes out.
I can tell you this: I don't think people are going to feel comfortable watching those pandemic contagion movies for a while. I think viewership for The
No,
Walking Dead
no.
might go down, and
That's right.
we're
That's
going to
right.
be people are going to be done with a few things.
Tiger King goes up. Walking Dead goes down. We can all be exotic Joes as our side gig.
I do generally think, though, this is going to have a profound effect on the culture, and um, I think it's going to have a profound effect in a lot of positive ways. And my hope is
Yeah.
that certain negative things don't surface. I'm hoping that this is going to reconnect families and reconnect couples. And
Those are the silver linings. That
yeah,
when have we ever been able to say, I'm just going to hit pause and just take off 2 months? Like, how I feel like we all say, I'm so busy, I'll get to that when I can. I've got this list of things to do, but we never really were able to get to those. Well, guess what? We all have time for those things now, and the interpersonal connections with your kids, the time with your spouse, your family. Ultimately, the reconnection electronically, or the new connection electronically nationwide, of what's had to happen in order for us to stay connected through Zoom and FaceTime and Facebook and all the different social platforms. That's actually a pretty cool thing to see those connections nationally.
it's great that there was enough infrastructure for it to happen, right? I mean,
Yeah. Yeah.
never has there been this much of a demand on bandwidth. And look, nothing caved in. That's awesome. Um,
It's not Netflix and chill. Now it's Netflix and quarantine.
but you and
Uh,
I speak a lot on work-life balance, and
yeah.
you know, I couldn't agree with you more. I mean, I come from a German heritage, which means at least in my family, the German side are my grandma and aunts and uncles who are just busy doing stuff. Like
Yeah.
something has to be going. So
Always busy. Yeah.
stereotypical to the Germans, but I'm saying in my family history, I attribute that side. But I thoroughly cleaned out in my garage. We did the pantry. I found stuff from 5 years ago because we were I've had 5 kids in the last like 10 years. So I mean, there's some stuff I haven't been able to put
Yeah.
pause on. The next project is the basement storage area. I have
Yeah.
wanted to cleanse that out, and I've never had the time. So I've got at least a month. Um,
I'm going to tell you, when you do that, it becomes your new favorite room of the house. Once the ones you were so intimidated by initially will become your new favorite room in the house. How about how many functional freezers we have now? We have gone through and edited. We're like, oh, really? 2012? So it's been nice to purge, and we all have the cleanest houses and the most organized houses right now. I can tell you that.
so that right there. I mean, I think if for people who are sitting and worried, I loved how you posted up, like you actually put a schedule together for your day, like here's
Yeah.
what I'm going to try and do, and giving some order. I actually have canceled a number of like my Netflix and stuff because I've got books and I've been reading at night, getting through all these books I've wanted to get through, and um, getting caught up on stuff we're doing for, dental directions and things I wanted to learn to help make a better network to help, our peers. And,
Sure.
um, think about it. How hard was that prior to this event? How hard would it have been to carve out 10 hours, 20 hours for some sort of project?
That would be a big order, I think, for most
You
people.
know? Yeah, huge. It would take you're looking at maybe 2 hours a week. So 10 weeks worth of time to maybe get something done. And
Sure.
now, now you get to get something done. Um, Let me ask you this question. This was a question I haven't asked you yet, but what do you think? I think it's extremely healthy to not think about the office for a while. Like I wanted to quantify like the stuff that I'm working on. Like when I say I'm doing my podcast and the community, like that's not my office.
Right.
Like um, there is a part of me that wants to sit there and go through all of our manuals and wants to use this time. I know you and I are in the process of updating our forms and things like, but I don't want to do that. Like I'm trying to,
That's okay.
I'm curious what your advice would be to our peers, because I feel like we're not going to be able to go back to our office for a while. So in my mind, the healthy thing is in order to accept that is, well, then let's not worry about that. Let's just worry about what I have to do right now, managing my emergency patients.
Yep.
Okay.
That's it.
And
I
that's,
would challenge people to do your own research experiment. We know what our previous life used to be. Now, I would challenge you to check in with yourself on how you feel after you get a solid 8 hours of sleep every night. How do you feel after you walk the neighborhood with your spouse or your family or your partner every night and make those connections with your neighbors? But just to get out and say, that's our standard thing we do now is we walk after dinner. Or what does it feel like to say, I have gotten some things checked off my list of things that have been kind of sitting in the background? How do you feel after all of that? I'm going to guess you feel really good. I know how I feel after balancing all of this stress and trauma with healthy things, healthy choices, eating better, sleeping better, working out more, getting the exercise in. So I hope that we can learn from that and then assimilate the perfect world of both of those and bring those together, that we can have a better balance. And that goes back to the work-life balance that we speak so often of.
yeah, no, I couldn't agree with you more. That's kind of definitely been my take is, and I was kind of working towards that before this happened. Like I was restructuring my schedule, trying to, the different projects and things that I do. I was trying to make sure it was done during work time. If that meant that, I was seeing a fewer patients and I knew that there would be an economic hit to that and that everything fine, but I'm prioritizing in a way that fits that. And this is just like putting it on light speed, you know?
Seriously.
Um,
Yeah.
but I do think it's fair that, definitely what I think, you'll chime in, I know for sure on this, Bobby, but I think for those, you and I are at points in our career where we kind of are able to somewhat laugh, right? We've laughed in this conversation. We're also very serious about what's going on. But
Yeah.
look, we weren't in the process of starting up a practice. We weren't with a practice that's 5 years in, and I just put all this blood, sweat, and tears into this practice. And all of a sudden it is like, I got to go back to square one. Like my heart goes out to colleagues that are in two stages, the ones that have yet to open and the ones that
Yes.
just went through the 3 to 5 years of getting out of that debt from a practice startup, only to be potentially thrust back into that. Because when you finally get your head out from that burden and you're seeing a little bit more of the financial reward of building up your practice and having
Hmm.
sacrificed to suddenly be thrown back into that, that would be a tough hit to hit. So I just want to share, I guess, I just want to send my feelings out there to say, look, we will get through this. You will get through this. Um, it's only going to make you more efficient. It's going to make you better, but I'm not denying the fact that I'm sure it feels really tough right now.
It does. I can liken this to standing up on the beach at the ocean's edge, and the wave knocks you over, and it takes a moment to get your footing and to stand back up, only to be hit with the next wave. And that's kind of how life is. And what I've learned over 21 years of practice is there's more than one wave. And if you go into that thinking, well, that was the big one, there's likely going to be more waves. So what's important is to make sure that you understand your footing so that you are better prepared when you know the wave is coming, that your stability, you've been here before, you know how to stand up better, you know how to ground yourself better. And the waves will continue to come, unfortunately, but that's part of life, and that's part of practice. It's made us better leaders for our team members.
Yeah, one of the things I would add is, for the for all of our, people listening to this, is don't be afraid to manage your emotion by acknowledging it and
Correct.
making sure you're talking about it. Don't suppress anything.
Don't suppress it, and don't feel like that you have to do it and fix it on your own.
Hmm.
Be transparent with your team. They're likely feeling similar feelings. um, Make sure that you surround yourself with a team of advisors, your accountant, your attorney, your HR advisor, your therapist. All of those people are there with their expert training to help you get through the tough times. Speaking of expert advisor,
Yep.
so yeah, try not to just feel like the weight of the world is on your shoulders only, and that everyone expects you to fix it. That is the worst thing, the worst approach that you can go. You will get knocked over by that wave and get sucked in the undertow if you do that.
And that's what a lot of our peers do. You and I do not hide the fact that we are not afraid to share our emotions. And as you always say, like, your counseling hat, and same thing, my counseling hat. I mean, you
Yep.
know, I think one of the most profound things that we can do to help ourselves in this time is to find the right resources to articulate our emotions and give those voice, and be able to
Yes.
find out what the root of that is, because then we can own it, and we can then know how to handle it. And at this
Yep.
time, if you suppress it, um, it
It'll
will
come out in unhealthy ways.
come out in unhealthy ways, both in your physical health
Yep.
and in the way that you will interact with those around you, including your team and the spouse and those closest to you. So do not hide that.
I agree. I think one of the hardest statements that people have saying is, I am afraid, or I don't know what to do. To ask for help is not a indication or sign of weakness in any way or fault on your own. If anything, it is personally a sign of strength that you have awareness that you can't do it all yourself. It is okay to ask for help, and it's okay to be scared.
Which we all are right now. We are all afraid, we're scared, and we know we can't do it by ourselves.
That's right.
But yet the solution is in us working together. And the solution is in the fact that we will take that fear to help to own it, and then to motivate us to be prepared and to lead with the authority of that ownership.
Absolutely. I couldn't have done this without my local colleagues, and not just pedo colleagues, but my orthodontic friends, my oral surgery friends, my GPs. We all talked every day, and I knew we did not, as a collective group, all of us nationwide, we did not make a bad decision that got us to this position. So we did not bring this on ourselves, and this is something that we did not cause, and it's out of our control. So the serenity prayer, only worry about the things that are in your control. This is not in our control, but what is in our control is our ability to lead our team, and our ability to ask for help, and the ability to take care of ourselves on a daily basis.
I couldn't have said that any better, man. So, um, Bobby and I wanted to kind of just put this out there because we know lots of you have been jumping on our network and looking for information, and we're thankful to all the information that's been shared up there. I finally did a post yesterday because like you, I've been just trying to keep my head above water on so many different fronts.
Right.
And but what is cool is that since we have time on our hands, we just want you to know that there are going to definitely be some things that will be coming down the pipe. There's in the works a kind of online, we're getting together a cool group of people that Jerry Sampson's kind of spearheading with Bobby and I to kind of do a seminar, like, I don't know, our first broadcast, whatever you're going to call it, but that's in development. So just keep an eye out, because we'll publish when we're gonna kind of make that accessible, and it'll just be an opportunity here in a week or two for us to come back together and to start talking about what comes next. It'll take a good week or two for all of us to digest, and then we're going to start getting that itch
Yeah.
that it's time to start planning. And so we just, in the meantime, I think I would just say, don't, like what we just described, don't hesitate to reach out on our network, reach out to us.
We're
If you
here.
need someone to talk to, if you need to blast something up there, great. We can throw something like this up and I'll just talk.
I can tell you one of the voids I have identified this week that has been tough is not being able to help my patients, like the void of helping other people. And that's something that we maybe take for granted that we are able to do with our patients and our team members. And we don't realize subconsciously how much that feeds our soul. And to have that cut off immediately was devastating. So what we're doing and what we want to offer is the ability to help each other, to continue to reach out and stay connected. Connection is what is so key during events like this. And if we can't be connected to our patients, we can stay connected to one another. And that's really what's driving pediatric dental directions and platforms like this, and what Jerry wants to put together with this panel. And I'm excited about it. And it feeds my soul to be able to work with Phil, you, and everyone else in our team on the Mighty Network.
I love what you just said, because I couldn't, I had not been able to put my finger on an emotion that I had, but you just said it. And that is, I think the anger and the frustration that I felt was that the kids that took so long to come see me were not going to be able to get treatment.
Yep.
And that was outside of my control. And I was mad at what they were doing by shutting us down, because it was like, look,
Yeah.
I have no problem putting myself out there and exposing myself to whatever. That's what I signed up for. But
But
like,
that was taken away from us without
kids are
our
going to be
choice.
in unnecessary pain, like that is hard to swallow.
Yeah.
But like you said so beautifully, it's not our fault.
It's not our fault.
And
we can help each other.
Mm-hmm.
Stay connected.
Yep. And I know that I'm not alone in that. Neither are you.
That's correct.
But
we'll get through this together.
Mm-hmm.
We'll be stronger for it.
All right. Well, Bobby, thanks for connecting and for sharing your powerful words. And we'll keep everybody posted.
Absolutely. It was good to see you and to talk with everybody and put something out there. So I hope everybody has a great weekend. Remember to relax. Take a moment to stop thinking about everything and just focus on the people that are around you. Live in the moment.
Give yourself some time.
That's
Maybe
right.
Go through Easter and then come out on Monday and say, all right, now let's start taking a plan, but take a mental vacation.
Absolutely. Don't got to ask me twice.